This November, no matter the outcome, we will elect our 47th chief executive. But first, we're going to take a look back at how the presidents became president. This is your countdown to 47. Arriving now to the Lion, Theodore Roosevelt. Prior to becoming the 26th president, TR grew up in New York City. And at the age of 6, he watched the funeral procession of his hero, President Abraham Lincoln. In his youth, TR struggled with poor health, which drove him to develop a grit that would come to define his character. In 1895, TR was elected the president of the police commissioners in New York City, where he made police reform his mission, garnering national attention. In 1897, Roosevelt caught the eye of President William McKinley and was appointed Assistant Secretary of the Navy. In this role, TR vehemently pushed for war with Spain over the issue of Cuban independence. And when the USS Maine was destroyed in Havana Harbor in April of 1898, Roosevelt got his war. Within weeks of the Spanish-American War's beginning, TR resigned his post to join the 1st U.S. Volunteer Cavalry Regiment. The unit became known as the Rough Riders. TR and his Rough Riders served with distinction throughout the rather short war, most famously leading the charge at the Battle of San Juan Hill that July. By the time the war was over, Colonel Roosevelt and his Rough Riders were seen as national heroes. This popularity propelled Roosevelt to the governorship of New York before the year was out. After a successful 2 years as governor, Roosevelt gained a reputation as a reformer and was seen as a rising political star, much to the chagrin of some powerful members of his party, who saw an opportunity at the Republican National Convention of 1900. To remove Roosevelt as governor, New York Republicans successfully lobbied for his nomination as McKinley's vice president, and much to his reluctance, TR accepted. The McKinley-Roosevelt ticket won in a landslide. The Republican establishment in New York was pleased as TR resigned as governor in 1901 and entered the vice presidency, which at the time was considered a powerless position and a political graveyard. But everything changed when self-proclaimed anarchist Leon Czolgosz assassinated President McKinley in September of 1901. Theodore Roosevelt then became the 26th president of the United States and the youngest to ever hold the office at the age of 42. President Roosevelt soon made the role his own. He believed the president could take any action on behalf of the public that was not expressly forbidden by the U.S. Constitution. This interpretation of executive powers, which is still followed today, is why Roosevelt is considered the first modern president. While in office, Roosevelt took on the biggest issues of his day, most famously the monopolies that dominated American commerce, pushing for what he called a square deal for all Americans. His actions led to the breaking up of the megatrusts like Northern Securities Railroad and eventually Standard Oil. In foreign affairs, Roosevelt supported the revolutionary government in Panama, with whom he'd later form an agreement to construct the Panama Canal. In 1904, Roosevelt ran for a second term and won in his own right with over 70% of the Electoral College. After his victory, he boldly declared he would not seek a third term in 1908, a decision he'd later regret, but that's a story for another time. In 1905, TR exerted American strength in global affairs when he helped negotiate an end to the Russo-Japanese War. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for this a year later. President Roosevelt used much of his second term to pursue conservationism. His years of commitment to the cause led to the preservation of 230 million acres of land. That's 1/10 of all land in the United States. Keeping to his pledge not to run in 1908, TR chose Secretary of War and personal friend William Howard Taft as his hand-picked successor, believing that Taft would continue much of his policies. Taft was elected that November. Theodore Roosevelt served as President of the United States from 1901 to 1909. I'm Eric George for Valley News Live, and this has been your countdown to 47.